Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I've just hit the start button so I can see everybody starting to pile in, and we will give it a minute or two and we will start bang on time. So who we got? Good morning, Steve. Pam's here. Logan, was great to see you last weekend in Wellington. Good morning and welcome. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Karen, our business builder of the year. Karen Dennis is in the house. Hey, Judy. Gary and Bella are giving spirit recipients for 24. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Diana's here, Chris is here. We'll give it a minute or two because we know it takes a minute for everybody to come on in, and there's always somebody running a minute or two late, and we will get ourselves going up and running very, very quickly. I hope you're having a good morning. I'd like to say the sun is out in Sydney this morning, and it's not. But the temperature is starting to rise. And Karen, you're going to need to tell me how hot it's going to be on the Sunshine Coast when we get up there for our next First Look event. If you haven't seen that advertised, our First Look events are an opportunity for people to come along and hear some stories. And on Friday the 10th, we will be in the Sunshine Coast in Buderim in particular. So get inviting. We are excited to see everybody there. And I will also say that we are working on something for Sydney. Bella and I were in chats yesterday, and I know she's been talking to some other leaders. So let's get that moving as quickly as we can. Okay, let's get this up and running. Good morning and welcome to the Lead, Laugh, Love podcast, inspiring leaders to lead with love and laughter along the way. This is our regular Saturday call, albeit a week later because we were out doing First Look events in New Zealand last week, and very successful they were too. So if you're unaware of what's happening with those, come and ask us because they have been very, very impactful and the results are there. Now, this morning we have a guest speaker with us that I'm very excited to introduce. One-star Platinum Presidential Director David Lee, proudly representing the Happy Team in Canada, was born in Toronto and raised in a family of entrepreneurs. This background instilled in him a passion for business and a drive to create a better life. David was introduced to Mannatech by his wife, May Yin. We all know that sometimes it's the wife is the clever one. Sorry, David. And from the very beginning, he knew it was the answer to better living. He often shares his philosophy, you never know what transpires in life. Throughout his Mannatech journey, David has achieved incredible milestones, including participating in a mission trip to Kenya. I'm sure that was only just amazing. Receiving the Ray Robbins Giving Spirit Award and becoming a member of the prestigious Million Dollar Club. We do love that $1 Million Club. Oh my gosh. And it was absolutely it's incredible to welcome David. It's your first time, I think, coming to us down here in Australia, and we have New Zealand on the line also. Good morning, David. Good afternoon. Welcome, and thank you for joining the call.
Yes, thank you very much. It's great to be here. I wish I could see everybody. I am so thrilled to see the messages into the chat, and it's an honor to be here. Sinead, thank you.
Okay, David, we always start with the same question first, and I always think it's the most important question. Why Mannatech? What made you say yes to us? What was it that triggered that?
Well, do you have 3 to 5 hours?
Yes.
Because since joining Mannatech, we can talk about more travel.
Mhm.
We can talk about better health and a happier bank account.
Mhm.
I've been involved since 2009, but it's more than just the health, the travel, and the bank account. I've done a lot of Christian type things.
Mhm.
However, I'm not very religious, but I'm going to start a new religion, everybody. This new religion, guys, are you listening? This new religion is called Listening to My Wife. As you heard, my wife was the one that brought me to Mannatech. And it's a man's job, or it's my job, I have to say yes to my wife. So I remember very clearly how she introduced me to Mannatech. And it was quite simple, 3 words. I found something. I found something. And at that time, when life goes sideways, you're trying to look for every solution you can think of. And I found something was just the 3 words I needed. I found something. And are you willing to try? It's not drugs. It's not, she went through very simply what it wasn't. And I said, yes, right away. I'll try it. And that was the beginning since 2009. And what a year that was of constantly getting better. This is a constantly getting better improvement business. So that's how it all started with that new religion, listening to my wife.
It's amazing how powerful words are. And those 3 words, I found something, I immediately wrote that down. To me, that says a lot. When you're in a relationship with a partner or wife, there is a level of trust. But there's also a level of, oh God, what now, right? um,
Life has never been the same.
but I absolutely, I just think in those 3 words, it's such a powerful message. I found something. Because I think there's many people listening on the call this morning that would say they remember that moment when they realized that they found something. And I love the fact that you said it's a very clear and definitive memory for you. Um, so you've been with Mannatech since 2009, so definitely not a newbie, right? Um, when you've been with us that long, I think when you start, there's always that excitement at the very beginning. But what motivates you day to day? It's 16 years, nearly 17 years on. What motivates you day to day? And what are the daily things that you do to keep focused?
That's a really interesting question because everybody might have a different answer. I think my answer is unique
Mm-hmm.
because I have two bosses at home. There are two. There's my wife, who's number one, but a
Mm-hmm.
close second is my daughter. They're both powerful women. And because I have two bosses at home, and when I wasn't well, they always said to me, listen, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself because they won't be there if I don't take care of myself. They won't be there to take care of me, to push the four wheels if needed. And that's where I was headed. So take care of yourself. And the fear of letting them down is the biggest motivation. So, if you have somebody fortunately enough to tell you that they're not going to be there for you if you don't do the right thing, then you have to do the right thing. Otherwise, that is the big part of your life is lost if you do the wrong things.
I love that because I'm a firm believer that you are your biggest asset in your business, but at the same time, it's possible that you can also be the biggest liability in your business because it does start and end with you. And sometimes we I think everybody will agree this morning we've all found somebody that's joined our business and they kind of want to be spoon-fed, but we want to teach people to fish. We don't want to get the fish for them. So I think there's very valuable lessons in that.
That's right. It's crippling.
Yes. When you look back at when you started, and I think we all learn from our mistakes, I have a very strong memory of something I did way back when that I learned the hard way from. What are the things you'd wish you'd known when you were just starting out?
Sure. You know, I've developed a saying,
Yeah.
and that saying is make mistakes quicker so
Okay.
that you can learn faster. Make mistakes quicker so you can learn faster. I think the first mistake that when joining the business was I thought my job was to sell products, and
Hmm.
selling products is not our business. Selling products is not our business. We are selling a lifestyle. You, we influence people to live the same lifestyle as us. And if you're not there, you've got to figure out what lifestyle do you want because there's a lot of people that are painfully working in the wrong lifestyle. And
Hmm.
that usually involves a career. I can't think of any careers that are very healthy for people. There's a drawback to nearly every career that's out there. Except unless you're a personal trainer. If you're a personal trainer, you're really motivating other people to be healthy, and that is sort of like what we are, but in the legacy company world.
I love that. And I think that's really I like the idea of making mistakes quicker so you can learn faster. And there's going to be a couple of people on this call this morning going, I have a fear of making a mistake. And I believe you have to be open to failing forward. You tried something, it didn't work. You pick yourself up, dust down from it, learn from it, and move on, right? Because if you're afraid to fail, you'll never do anything. Would you agree?
If you're afraid to fail, oh gosh, you don't want to do anything. You won't move. You'll be walking on eggshells every time you
Hmm.
make a move. It says, get out there and learn. Fall off the bike a few times. It
Hmm.
works.
And I think the other thing that you said is about your job was not to sell products. And again, I go back, I mentioned at the top of the call about our first look events, and it's really just a night of stories, David. And when we talk about stories, it's how Mannatech touches you in so many different ways, because obviously there were powerful product stories. But there's experiences, there's community, there's lifestyle. You know, in Australia many years ago, on the back of a Manifest trip, we went and visited some of the M5M orphanages in Mexico. And I know that instilled a belief and an impact on so many people that, you know, we still talk about that today. But it is so much more, because it's, you know, you walk into a room, and I'll use, we were in Cambridge, a small town in New Zealand last week. We walked into the room and it just had the most incredible feeling. It was not the fanciest venue you'll have ever seen, but it was just filled with connection and just honesty and openness and sharing. And I think that's also part of what we're selling. The lifestyle is not just about the check and what it's enabled you to do, but it's everything else. Like the atmosphere we had at Manifest this year was incredible. And I think it is all that. And do you find that drives your business, David?
You know what really drives the
Hmm.
business is people want to be part of something really
Yeah.
great. They want to be, what else would they be doing? There's the regular routine, but then there's the personal growth part of what we're doing. This is truly getting everybody to uplift themselves, to grow in some sort of grow their mindset, which is
Hmm.
number one, grow their ability to go around the world, to step
Hmm.
outside what their regular duties are. There's a lot of people that their first mindset is, I gotta get up and go to work. We can do a little extra than just go to work. This is a big part of success because I've met a lot of people who have multiple gigs. What is the first gig that was offered to us was you're driving for delivering food, for example, Uber, and you are renting part of your house. That's Airbnb. All these businesses and all the things that you're doing on top of your regular job, an exercise gig, it's proving that no, this does not make you more successful. It takes more of your time, is what it does.
Hmm.
And there's no extra money really to be made because the expenses are higher.
Yeah.
So, yes, people are doing a lot more, but they're not getting ahead by doing so much more.
Yeah, I think the whole time in exchange for cash is it's not the same as it needs to be. And I think there's definitely ways to work smarter, not harder. And I think one of the words we hear a lot in our industry, and I know it resonates with a particular team in Australia, is the word freedom. And you know, freedom, it gives you choice, it gives you options. And you know, we're all very different, and my why may be very different to somebody else's why, but you know, this Manitex gives you the choice and gives you that freedom. um I'm going to deviate a little bit just from some of the questions I pre-sent you, just because of a conversation we had before we went live. um I commented that even though it was going into fall, David was still looking very bright and summery, in his in his beautiful resplendent shirt. And he told me there's a reason for that. And David, I loved it. It really made me smile. Would you share why you wear your bright shirt?
I think everybody's job in life is to make other people smile. Smile and wave, smile and wave. And what could you do? Sometimes it's what you say, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's what you wear. And so today I'm wearing this beautiful Under Armour shirt. Sometimes I would wear a bow tie that looks like this. And if I'm gonna wear a regular tie, it's gonna be something really bright and attractive. So making that memory, making people smile, and try to get that wow factor. I think when I showed the bow tie, a lot of people might have said, "Wow." It was Leonie. She asked me for half a dozen of them for her platinums. She wanted to wear them as a reward for reaching that level.
I love it. And I think, it's always good to bring the fun, to bring the joy. And as we were saying, and then people remember you. They go, oh, oh, that was the guy in the sparkly bow tie. And for those of you that were at Manifest, when we went into the office tour, you couldn't miss Nat Weeks. Same kind of a philosophy and a lot of, we're going to call it crazy, David, in the best possible way. Um, but we remember that. And it really, when you're trying to set yourself out from the noise that's out there, and, you know, it's always about how you make people feel. But if one of the first feelings they get is a smile on the face because you're standing out or you look happy, it's already a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
Um,
people will always remember how they laughed.
yes.
They'll also remember how they cried. There's some amazing story that made them cry. Yes, two of the most memorable things you can do is laughter and tears.
Mhm. Well, with that in mind, I'm going to ask you about the mission trip to Kenya, because I know the impact of our trip to the orphanages in Mexico. And even for me, I still remember how I feel on those days. And there was a sense of pride in who we are as a company, but there was also a feel like that really reinforced that what we do matters. When was the trip to Kenya?
This trip was in my second year of Mannatech, so
Oh wow.
2011. 2011. Long story. Gosh, of course, when you're in Mannatech, you start recommending everybody to take Mannatech, and I had sent products to my mother, and we go to see her during the month of May that year. It was Mother's Day, and he says, "Mom, I'm at that time I lived in Vancouver, and I come back to Toronto, and says, Mom, where are those products? How are the products working for you?" Says, "Oh, I forget." She didn't really think they had value. Says, "Mom, if you don't know how valuable you are, we're not going out for Mother's Day. We're gonna find an opportunity meeting." And we found that opportunity meeting in the Niagara Falls area. So we drove an hour and a half to Niagara Falls, and there was somebody, Dr. Gary Anderson, who was presenting Mannatech at that time. And for more than 7 years, he's been donating all of his income from Mannatech to help children in Kenya.
Wow.
And it touched my heart. I connected with him right away. He says, "I would like to go on the next mission trip with you." And because of that, he doesn't just take people on the team. He went through a thorough examination. Would I be a good fit for the team? I was the most questionable. I was the most energetic. And everybody in Mannatech usually is a little bit more reserved. And I wasn't religious, as I mentioned before. I have that new religion, listening to my wife. But as a Christian, he had doubts if I would fit in to going to the churches and the orphanages and all the schools. And he had me do all sorts of, those profiles where you wanted to see what type of personality you are and
Mhm.
would be good for the team. So I went with a teacher, retired teacher from Nova Scotia on the east coast of Canada. And I went with Dr. Gary Anderson and his wife, Marilyn, and they'd been going on these mission trips for close to 7 years. It turns out that my presence there was some of the best highlights of my life, because here we are, we're going to schools for children with special needs. We're going to churches where they sing in Swahili and we dance, and the average income of somebody in Kenya is about $2 per day. And so our impact there was phenomenal. It was just incredible that we're visiting bread and milk programs where they've been getting manna bears and glyco bears, as they were called back then, and all sorts of products. And we were donating crates of ampertos to children at some of the schools. I I love that experience because I saw the difference. I saw the difference how it made in children who were in deep need of help. Uh, they did not look like kids who were in special needs when we were there. They came alive. And those, along with some of the elderly people that we saw in churches, and the little ones, little kids who were in a school, a nursery for children between ages 2 and 5. They grew up in a slum neighborhood, so we saw the benefits of them. They used the Mannatech bottles to count for counting exercises, and
Mhm.
nothing gets wasted in Kenya. It was in 2011, so that many years ago, and those memories of being there are still fresh in my mind. I'll never be the same after that.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I just kind of, I feel how it listening to you is making me feel. So if you're watching this morning and you're listening, I really feel it's probably, it's really, I feel we have a responsibility. We know our products make a difference. We need to be out there screaming it from the rooftop. And we know we can make such a difference for people. And as you said, people in Kenya, they $2 a day, for like, for when you look at the business side of things, most people don't always think about, oh, we want to get $10,000 a month. But if you can give somebody an extra three, four, $500 every month, it takes the pressure off them in their life. And there's so much good we can do while doing good in other areas. And, I love our Mission 5 Million program because the idea of donation through consumption just makes it so easy and I feel so impactful.
That's the reason why that quote, "You never know what transpires,"
Hmm.
because my mother's not taking the products. We
Hmm.
go to Niagara Falls. We see the presentation on M5M,
Hmm.
and then now I go. My wife goes on a mission trip, and that changes her.
Yep.
And the sharing of M5M is so touching. So
Mhm.
when you have that bit of business that touches your heart, it really paves the way for even more business. There's a saying that I came up with
Mhm.
when people ask me what you do for a living, is I help children in countries all over the world. Says, well, what do you mean? Says, well, the more kids I help, the more I get paid. And that is a great introduction to showing the plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Um, did your mom ever convert and take the products? Did it help? Did she change her mind?
Yeah,
We all want to
we
know.
we love mixing it in with her food and drinks so she doesn't know she's taking it, because when you get to an age you'll start to forget. Even sometimes I walk into a room and I don't even know the reason why I walked in there.
We've all had those moments.
I know I have to start taking a little bit more products.
Yes. Well, we have a joke in our office. If somebody comes in cranky, it's the first question is, "Did you take your plus today?" Um, or if the brain's not doing as much, "Are you taking omega-3?" I think we all have those little jokes around about what we do. And I think the interesting thing is quite often family's the hardest. And you want them so much to have the benefit of them, and sometimes you just have to take a deep breath. But it's amazing after a period of time, or if there's a need, people will eventually turn around and go, okay, maybe I'm ready now. And the same within the business. I'm still laughing about your two bosses and your wife and your daughter because I come from a family of all women. I have three sisters, so my poor dad didn't stand a chance. So I feel that you're probably a little bit outnumbered at home, but I don't think you'd have it any other way either. So
Okay, there's always earplugs.
you did just not say that in public. Um, who inspires you, David? If you had to just pin it down, who inspires you?
Oh, there's so many people that I could mention. Of course,
Mhm.
Jim Rohn. You look at his mentorship.
Oh my
Look at
God,
Dr.
yeah.
Steve Nugent and what he shares, helping people understand complicated things in simple words. Look at Louisa Montalvo. She's a person who lives in Texas, and she just won the world championship of public speaking. because of her story of being hit, being saved by 37 people who, if you just Google Louisa Montalvo, you'll know her speech. There's a lesson in all of them communicate very well
Mhm.
because of how they tell their stories and what their life mission is. But the person that really stands out right now, especially now, is John O'Leary. If you don't know who he is, there's a movie coming out about John O'Leary coming out next month. And as a little boy, he was playing with matches. Everybody played with matches at some point, but he was burned within a centimeter of his life, burned more than 90% of his body, and where he had no chance of survival, there were people that stepped up and helped him find his way. And John O'Leary is with no hands or no fingertips and things like that. You'll see his story is called On Fire. He spoke at Manifest in 2014, and what a great inspiration when you think you can't. He can prove you wrong. When all the odds are against you, he proved everybody wrong. And he had support from, you'll learn the story about Nurse Roy, who helped him nurse him back to health, and inspirational people like Jack Buck, who is a radio announcer for Major League Baseball. Once you've learned the story about John O'Leary, I'm sure you'll never be the same, and you'll be moved by what he's done. And he teaches you the phrase, "What more can I do?"
Wow.
If you were to say to yourself, "What more can I do?" that mindset could be the only sentence you need to remember. What more can I do?
That's powerful. I love that. I'm sorry, I had a quick Google, I'm not going to lie, because I was intrigued because O'Leary is a good Irish name and they all know how proud I am of being Irish. So we're already starting on a good foundation. So I'm definitely going to look at that. And I was thinking back, I was going, was I at Mannatech 2014? I don't believe I was. So no, no, I wasn't. So it's not like I don't remember him. I don't believe I was at that one, but that's incredible. And I love that there are stories out there, and it's not just about him, as you mentioned. You mentioned the nurse and the radio DJ. Um, Big thing for us is books. We're all about books, and we're always looking for recommendations. Um, we find when we ask this question, sometimes the same book titles come up over and over again, and I always think that ties into success leaves clues. But are there books that somebody said to you, David, what's for somebody building this business, what's the first book you would recommend? Or the only book maybe you recommend, or maybe you have 10? We asked
If
Ray
it's
Robbins and we
if
had
it,
a list.
if it's network marketing, you've got to start with GoPro or even watch the movie that
Yep,
that's surrounded around GoPro. But
yep.
the book that stands out hands down in my mind, I know it inside out because I've had to get it translated in Chinese. And that book is by Stan Frederick. Never, ever give up. Never, ever give up. There's too much in there to throw away if you don't read it. The
Mhm,
stories of his life, the stories of struggle, the stories of winning, the stories of learning, the stories of how you impact your family by forcing them to do those certain things like a ledger. You'd have to, there's a great story about Ashley, how she had to write out her expenses because they would pay the expenses, but they didn't just get an allowance. You had to justify all the things that you were spending. And there's a great story about lawn mowing and the BB gun. Hands down, there's so much information in there
mhm,
that it sends you nothing but the right direction.
mhm.
You, you don't have to suffer with going through what I went through, but you can learn from the pages of that book. Never ever give up. And if and it's not the end. It's never the end.
No, no.
Only the end when you give up. So it's that book. I think the Fredericks should launch that book in other languages.
Okay. I know, I can imagine nearly everybody in this call knows GoPro. If you don't, it's a book by Eric Worre, and we know it's an incredible book. It's not the first time we've heard this mentioned. And I did know that Stan Frederick had written a book. I'll be honest, I have not read it. I'm now intrigued. It's also Landon's my boss, so I'm also intrigued. Is there any secrets I can pull out of there and use against him? If you're watching Landon ever, I'm just kidding.
I
Um,
had a great conversation with Landon, and he was telling me about some sticky situations. That says it's not the end, Landon. Like this.
And you know, for me, Stan spoke so well at Manifest. I loved what he had to share. And some of you know, obviously we do board meetings once a quarter, and all of the international markets come in to share. And he's always been such a great support. And he's got that he's got that, I call it a cheeky smile on the other end of the Zoom when he asks a question. There's just something very compelling about Stan, to be sure. Um, but that's another great recommendation. I have put in the chat, if you do have any questions, please type them in the chat and we can ask David. The other thing I did ask you early before we went live, we're in the last 3 days of September. We are on the last 3 days of an incentive, and our incentive is for a leadership development weekend. We know there are people really pushing to the last minute. What advice do you give your team last week of any month and the last week of a month where there's an incentive they're working for and they may feel that it's a little bit beyond reach?
Well, if you listen to the devil on this side versus the person that's encouraging you on this side, you'll have that struggle within yourself.
Mhm.
So try not to struggle because you have a goal in mind. You have it written down, you have it visualized. It's time to go out and do it. There's there shouldn't be any struggle. You have to believe that you're going to get there. You have
Mhm.
to believe that you're going to get there because yes, it's a lot of work, but it's very costly if you don't get there. So my advice is buy a ticket to the movies, buy a ticket to the movies, and as soon as you accomplish that goal, then you can use that ticket to go to the movies and enjoy yourself. And you have to make that contract with yourself that I can go to the movies once I get it done.
Mhm.
I can go to the movies once I get it done. If I don't get it done, well, then I have to forfeit that ticket. So then, even though it's $15 to $18, that
Mhm.
little contract that you make with yourself is to get it done. Get it done. That's what you're working hard for. And there has to be a consequence for not getting it done. Okay. You can reward yourself by going to the movies because we all need some entertainment, right? But
Yes.
we all have a goal. We have to goal that we have to reach.
Mhm.
We have to reach that goal and make that contract with yourself that I get to reward myself. And if I don't, then that's the best way to avoid procrastination is if you make a goal where I have to donate $1,000 to somebody I hate if I don't make that goal. So this is a small way. The movie ticket is a small way to reward yourself,
Yeah.
to go in and reward yourself for a job well done because you have to get it done. I have to get it done because I have this contract with myself.
It's an amazing thing because I think sometimes the biggest accountability partner you can have is yourself. And sometimes the greatest competition you can have is with yourself. I've done this. Again, what more can I do? Can I go beyond that? And sometimes if you can harness that within yourself, I think it really will spur you on. And I think I was speaking with somebody yesterday and they rang with a question that didn't matter. And I asked about the incentive. They said, oh, it's a bit hard. And I said, yes, but think about what you're focusing on. What you're focusing on right now is not going to help you grow your business now. It's not going to help you hit that goal that you set for yourself this month. Look at the activities that are actually going to help you get there because we get distracted, right? We all have one of these. We get distracted. Ooh, look, the squirrel. And I think what you're saying is really harnessing the power that you have in within yourself. Um, Karen has asked, how do you inspire your leaders to go higher?
Well,
That's a
that's
great
a
question.
loaded question.
Yeah.
How many hours do we have?
It's okay, they're going nowhere. They're strapped in.
Well, there's three things that you have to do, in my opinion. The three things are: make sure that you're having fun. You've got to have some fun. Nudge people. Say the unexpected things. Unexpected, because when people are speaking or thinking or planning something out, a lot of times you might know where they're going. So say something unexpected. So you, for example, one example of fun is, let's suppose I'm bringing my car in for service, and you walk in the door and then you say, I have an appointment for the spa, and it's a garage. Right? It's like you, and if you're having this type of conversation with your leaders where
Mhm,
you say something unexpected that it's fun, it'd be fun for them. The more fun that they're having, the more productivity there will be. It's not always lashing out and getting them go, go, go. It a lot of the times it's just asking for a hand, asking for
mhm,
some help. There's a lot of times where I need some help, and I asked leaders to help. They can ask other people for help.
mhm,
Everybody's connected. Hey, I need some help. I need this, this, and this.
mhm,
If you're upstanding and you haven't let anybody down, they'll be there for you. There's so many branches of trees out there that lead to other leaves.
mhm.
So, you know, it's like a chess move. You make this move, there's a lot of variables. So ask your people for help. Make it fun. Tell all those great stories and stay close to your leadership.
Yeah. I think too, if you understand if you understand their why, if they've shared that with you, I think it's easier for you then to, as you said, stay close to your leaders. If you understand what's driving them, what's motivating them, what's inspiring them, I think it creates that synergy between you and them, so you can help them go further. Um, the next question we've got is, do you use I've found something when meeting new people? If you're talking to, like, you're obviously somebody that you're looking to recruit. Yeah.
The That doesn't come right away.
Hmm.
What did I have with my wife that I don't have with the new person? That's the rapport.
Hmm.
You've got to build rapport first. You've got to build rapport first. There's the acronym FORM:
Hmm. Yep.
family, occupation, recreation, money.
Hmm.
You also have to find out what HD stands for. HD. What is their health like? What are their dreams?
Hmm.
Form HD is the master 6 point plan to
Hmm.
find out what their needs are, where they stand. Once you have that, you can find out, you can now say, I found something.
I think the one that sticks out to me in all of that is the dreams. And we were in a conversation recently, our presidential Karen Dennis, we've got Leonie van der Linder coming down to do an event with us. And we had a really big conversation about dreams, and I think it's one of the most important things that we can help people realize, but we can, explore when we're connecting with people. Because as you said, there's the rapport first. It's very hard to say to somebody you've just met, I found something, and they're going, huh? Good luck. Well done, you. But yeah, I think that's incredible. I'm sorry, there's another question's come in. In your experience, do you think one successful system in one group works for people from different countries? What can be the key thing when we mentor leaders from different cultures or different countries? Yeah, sorry.
In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, I only speak English.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, recruiting in any language is the same. It's the same. It if you if you're meeting somebody new, you have to have that groundwork where you're they know you better, they
Mhm.
like you, and now they trust you. And that's the three bullet acronym for rapport. Know,
Mhm.
like, and trust. Once you've got that, then you can ask the question. Or sooner or later, they ask you, what do you do for a living?
Mhm.
What do you do for a living? If you wear some snazzy shirts, you wear some really fancy ties, right? You're like, what do you do? Are you an actor? Is this like, what do you do?
Mhm.
Now that door is unlocked because now they're comfortable. They have to be comfortable. Would you feel comfortable when you look inside let's say, a Chinese restaurant and there's nobody in there at lunchtime? Would you feel comfortable going in there?
Mhm.
Every everything has something attractive about it. So that place is jam packed. Let's go. It
Yes.
must be good.
And I think what you kind of hit the nail on the head, really, it's kind of how we make people feel. You know, Maya Angelou says people will forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they'd never forget how you made them feel. And I know I've had conversations with people who haven't necessarily understood every word I've said, but you can sense we're having fun and we're both trying, and there's that just sense of a connection, even if you can't really put your finger on why, but there is that sense of connection. Um, and somebody's just saying, my dream is to have financial resources for many mission trips to orphanages, and that's a beautiful that is a beautiful dream, and that is a beautiful why. Um, okay, because we're nearly on time. Any last words of advice for just for this business, right? You know, something maybe somebody shared with you along the way that's held you true that you'd love to impart on other people, or
I'll,
let's
I'll
give you
share
the
two
closing
things.
words.
They all come from my daughter.
Yep.
My daughter came home with a cup. This
Mhm.
is a coffee cup that has a rainbow on the outside, and it's got a heart shape. When you look into the cup at the very bottom, there's a heart.
Mhm.
And on the rim of that cup, it says, do more of what you love. Do more of what you love. If you love the result of a product story that helps somebody, of course, you want to hear more results, stories
Mhm.
of people in Mannatech. This is one of the first things I fell in love with was hearing such amazing stories. Those amazing stories are the most memorable things. I still remember the 2009 story where a little boy came to us. Their parents were pharmacists. They've tried everything, and that 1 month story of how ambertose in the little gummy form
Mhm.
changed that boy's life. Just amazing how 1 month of one product. They're supposed to eat 4 a day. I'm sure they ate more, but we get home. They don't say hi. How are you? They say, you know, my son is better. My son is better. My son is better. That energy is just so amazing. So we want more of those stories. And the second thing that came from my daughter is she wrote a quote when she graduated high school.
Mhm.
As the quote would be read as you walk the graduation stage. And her quote was, figure out what your dream is, figure out what your dream is, and spend the rest of your time going for it. Figure out what your dream is and spend the rest of your time going for it. And so Phoebe is doing just that. And that cup, do more of what you love. And when you reach a stable level of presidential, whatever level it is, the steady flow of happy customers and volume just constantly gives you a better life.
Mhm.
You don't look at gas prices anymore, right? You don't look at the prices on the menu, and you can now fill your time in with things like, for example, I don't play volleyball anymore, but I start coaching volleyball.
Mhm.
Twice a week I coach volleyball, and I'm doing as much personal growth things as I can. Number one, you have to aspire to grow higher, right? Aspire to grow higher. It's the first A in Mannatech is aspire. So money, Money is the first part. Health is the first word is M for money, and the last H is for health. The first A is for aspire higher.
I love that. I'm not going to lie. I reckon everybody here is going, I wonder if we could recruit David's daughter into our business. She sounds incredible. I'm not sure how old she is now, but it's amazing to see that kind of um thinking out of somebody that I'm assuming is still quite young. You know, you expect wisdom from older people, but I think it's wonderful to see that coming through. And you know, this business can be so much to anybody, regardless of how old you are. It does offer so much. David, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I've got pages of notes, and I'm old school. I use a pencil, so I'll be trying to figure out what I wrote later. It's been absolutely incredible. What I love about our community here in Mannatech is when we put out a call to see who else we can invite to share, there's no shortage of hands that go up. And for us down here, you know, it's already Saturday morning, and it is 9:45 here in Sydney, which means in New Zealand it's almost midday. We're a day ahead, but we're still also connected even through the thousands and thousands of kilometers. So thank you for giving us your time this morning. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for bringing some brightness with your beautiful shirts and your beautiful stories on a grey day in Sydney. Everybody, thank you so much for being here this morning. I will download and upload the call as quickly as I can this morning. And a reminder, next Saturday morning, we have our first call of the month, which is our health, wellness, and Dr. Nugent. So we are very excited to have that. Mark your calendars or check out our new digital calendar that you can find in our app. So everybody have a great rest of your weekend. Again, David, many thanks. We are deeply grateful, and have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye, everyone.